Should ministers of the gospel run for political office? While the Bible doesn't give us a clear-cut thou shalt not, generally speaking, it's not a good idea. I'm James. Let's talk about it. Hey friends, thanks for joining us today. It's been a while since I've been able to post regularly, and I did a recent video about why I've been kind of out of the loop, and you can watch that here if you like. But I'm glad to be back, and I do hope that from here on I can post my videos a lot more consistently. And I would ask that you subscribe and click the little bell icon there so you can get the new videos as soon as they come out. As I record this, it is November of 2020, and we just came through a presidential election, and there are still some things that are still up in the air, so we're just praying for God's will to be done in that. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about the first presidential election I ever voted in, and that was 1988, which seems like forever ago. But that election was interesting because you had two ministers running for president. You had Pat Robertson, who was running as a Republican, and Jesse Jackson, who was running as a Democrat. It was interesting to watch in the years after that not only did neither of them win the presidency, both of them suffered damage to their credibility as ministers of the gospel. And sadly, that is often the case when ministers do seek political office. That's not to say, of course, that ministers should not be involved in the political process. Contrary to what a lot of people might want to tell you, a preacher has the same First Amendment rights as any other American citizen. On his own time, he can advocate for issues, he can support candidates, he can speak at rallies, knock on doors, whatever he wants to do. The only thing he cannot legally do is to either endorse candidates from the pulpit or use church funds to contribute to political campaigns. Church and state are two separate entities. Jesus himself drew a distinction between that which is Caesar's and that which is God's. But that doesn't mean that they can't work together in complementary ways. For example, in ancient Israel, Moses was this political leader while his brother Aaron served in the priesthood as the spiritual leader. A similar relationship could be found between King Josiah and Hilkiah the priest. Another example would be Nehemiah the governor and Ezra the scribe. Romans 13, 1 through 7 is a key text in understanding what the Bible says about the relationship of civil and spiritual authority. You can read that whole passage on your own, but I want to focus specifically on verse 4. Notice that it even goes as far as to call government servants ministers of God. Now, how many of them actually take that seriously is a whole other topic, but the principle still applies. In light of that, there are a number of people in the Bible that God does directly call to work in the political and governmental arena. These include men and women like Joseph, Deborah, Gideon, Samuel, David, Nehemiah, and Esther. The point is that a person can be called to serve in a government leadership capacity, and that calling is just as real as the calling to pastor a church. But keep in mind they are two separate and distinct callings, and each one requires its own set of giftings and anointings. And when one tries to cross into the other, a lot of times it does more harm than good. Martin Luther King wisely told us that the church is neither the master of the state nor the servant of the state. Rather, it's the conscience of the state. And when church leaders allow themselves to become tools of political parties, that influence can be seriously compromised. And I plan to talk about that more in a future video on the Christian right. In the meantime, as I said, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, friends, keep it real. Thank you for watching.